Everything started at a busy subway station in New York. Emily was rushing as usual, trying not to be late for work. She had no idea that an ordinary commute would change her life forever. As Emily sipped her coffee and took a deep breath, she noticed an elderly man a few feet away. He was wearing a worn-out coat and rubbing his hands together. But it wasn't his appearance that caught her attention. It was his eyes. They looked old and tired, yet they seemed to hold a deep story. Emily thought to herself, "What's this man's story? He looks so sad. There has to be a reason." She kept glancing at him while waiting for her train, but when the subway arrived, she got distracted and hurried on board. She found a seat and settled in. That's when she realized the same elderly man had also boarded and was sitting quietly in the corner. The man pulled out a small, weathered photograph and stared at it, tears welling up in his eyes as he tried to wipe them away. Emily couldn't ignore the scene in front of her. She hesitated for a moment, then made up her mind and walked over to him. "Excuse me," she said softly. "Are you okay? Is there something I can help with?" The man looked up at her and gave a faint smile. "Oh, thank you, young lady. I'm all right. Just thinking about the past. I lost my daughter years ago. I've been trying to find some trace of her, but it's been tough." Emily's heart sank. The pain in his voice was all too familiar. It reminded her of when she lost her dad. She felt his grief as if it were her own. "Maybe I can help," she offered. "How did you lose her? What are you looking for?" The man began to share his story. His daughter had run away 20 years ago, and he hadn't heard from her since. The photograph he was holding was the last one he had of her. She was just 18 years old then. Now he wandered the streets of New York every day, hoping to find some clue. "I'm not sure I'll ever find her," he said with a sigh, "but I can't give up without trying." Emily was moved by his words. As she looked at the photo, something about the girl's face felt strangely familiar. She froze for a moment. "This girl," Emily stammered, "I think I might have seen her before. Her eyes, they look so familiar." The man's eyes widened as he stared at Emily. Could she really know something? Emily quickly took a picture of the photograph with her phone and promised to ask around. That day, Emily did everything she could. She shared the photo on social media and sent it to a few of her old friends. The waiting was nerve-wracking, but the very next day, her phone buzzed with a message. Someone claimed that the girl in the photo worked at a cafe in Brooklyn. Could this be real? Is it really her? Emily thought, her heart racing. She called the man immediately and arranged to meet him. Together, they made their way to the cafe. When they walked in, the man froze, his eyes locking onto someone across the room. Tears filled his eyes as he whispered, "That's her. That's my daughter." The young woman who had been working behind the counter noticed them staring. She froze as well. For a moment, no one moved. Then, with Emily's gentle encouragement, the man and his daughter embraced for the first time in decades. That day, it wasn't just a father and daughter being reunited. It was also a reminder of how one small act of kindness can ripple into something life-changing. For Emily, helping the man was the most meaningful thing she'd ever done. She felt a sense of joy and purpose she'd never experienced before. Sometimes all it takes is a moment of compassion to change a life forever. Have you ever had an experience like this? Share your story in the comments, and if you enjoyed this, don't forget to subscribe for more uplifting tales, because even the smallest acts of kindness can lead to extraordinary miracles.